Sailing in Colorado is usually pretty lively, but not every sail that I do is very exciting to watch, and this is one of those cases. But I felt like the footage was pretty good and really too good not to use. So in this case, the winds have gotten really light, boats moving really slow. The winds are from the north, and I decide to sail close to the shore and in between some rocks through a narrow passage. And while this is a little risky, the conditions really are ideal. Light winds, the winds are coming from my stern, so I'm sailing dead downwind, and I might need to do a slow jibe while I'm passing through here, but I'm not worried about leeway pushing me to the side into the rocks or anything like that. Probably my biggest risk here is either a wind direction change, in which case I would quickly lower the motor and just motor sail out of the passage, or hitting the rudder on an object. So, the rudder is held down by friction, so it will kick up if I hit anything. With the centerboard up, which is how I'm sailing right now, the shoal draft keel only draws 18 inches, so the rudder is the deepest part of the boat at this point. And again, the motor is raised, it's in the tilted position. So in this passage, entering from the north, there's two ways I can go. I can either take the channel to the right, which is how I'm doing it right now, and then there's a rock in the middle of the entrance, which you can see just behind the sail there. And so there's another way to go in on the left side of that rock. That rock is in the middle of this narrow channel. The other thing that I have working to my advantage is that the water is very clear, and so I can see, probably 10 to 12 feet down. So I can see some of the submerged obstacles here. So again, moving, really slow, very, gentle pace. And I've mentioned before that when the wind dies and the boat's moving really slow, I do like to sail close to shore. And it's because it gives you more of a sense of movement because you're seeing things pass by, as opposed to out in the middle of the lake where, you really don't get that sense that you're still moving. You feel like you're just sitting there. But when you're close to shore, you can see scenery going by and you really get that sense of movement. So as you enter in here, the water is about 60 feet deep, but as soon as you get into this little channel, you can see submerged objects directly below you. So you can see it's quite narrow, but again, sailing dead downwind with light winds, it's really not that bad. I've done this a couple times, and so yeah, it's just something that I like to do when the winds are light and the conditions are just right. So here you can see I stand up so that I can, see submerged objects a little better. So I'm just keeping an eye on any rocks that are sticking up from the bottom, reaching up. Really pretty day, and yeah, this part of the shoreline is, I think, really nice. So if the wind's increased while I'm in this channel, then I would just accelerate and move through it faster. Now, if there was a wind direction change and say the wind started coming from my beam, of course, I'd have to tighten up the sails, but also I'd probably have to start letting a little bit of centerboard down so that I didn't have leeway that was pushing me into the rocks. And as I said before, I could always lower the motor and just motor sail out. So here you can see there are some rocks below the water that reach out from this big rock that is breaking the surface here. So you can see there's a little bit of obstacles there on the right. And so I'm just squeaking by those. And then similarly on the left, because I've been here before, I know that there is a big rock kind of in the middle, and you'll see that in a second. Yeah, there you can start seeing the submerged rock that I'm just, again, squeaking by. And I have no idea how deep that actually is because, when you're looking down through the water, it's Kind of hard to tell, but I'd guess it's at least like 10 feet deep, maybe 6. But either way, I could clear that rock. So now I'm basically out of the channel, and then you're going to get a view looking back. And so you can see that rock in the middle. And so I went on from the north, it was on the right side, but now looking north, it's on the left side. So I went through the channel on the left, but there's also a channel on the right of that rock. And so here's a good view of, there's a big cove back here toward the mountains, and really a cool area to explore, but again, only when conditions are just right and you can either motor with absolutely no wind or just sail very slowly in very light winds. When the winds are heavy, I stay more toward, well, away from the shore, not toward the middle of the lake, but away from the shore. So, but anyway, so here I do a jibe, and again, kind of turn toward the shore, and then there's several other, you can see one of them right there, several other little, not passages, but little places where I can go between the shore and rocks that are a little further out from the shore. So there's like, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 of those all in a row when you go down the lake on this shore from north to south. All right, well, as always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.